Hi, I'm Kaylin.
And this is Brooklyn, and this is Death Row Dialogue. And I did it again. I did it again.
Maybe that's just your intro now.
I'm Brooklyn. I am Brooklyn. I am Brooklyn. I'll start saying that.
Yeah, you sound like a robot.
I am Brooklyn. Okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. Anyways, 50th episode.
Woo, woo, woo.
That is wonderful. That's so great. Glad to be here. I just want to thank everybody for who believed in me and who watched me grow. Just really appreciate you.
You've really grown in your commentary.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be honest and say I was really awkward at first. I feel like up until probably the last few episodes, I've really gotten more comfortable with looking at a camera and talking to it.
Yeah, it's like when I very first started it and I was having to edit it, it was very weird to hear my voice. And like whenever you're editing, like you have to listen to the same segment like over and over and over again to edit it right. And I eventually just got like desensitized to hearing my voice on recording. So
Yeah. Whenever I go to listen to our episodes, um, I definitely feel the same way. I'm like, ew, is that how I sound? But I feel like everyone feels that way. Like you're like, ew, is that really my voice?
well, and it's so weird because you have this voice in your head that you think everyone else hears.
Yeah, and it's nothing like it. Like I listen to myself and I'm like, how did I even get married in the first place? Like who wants to listen to this for the rest of their life?
Your looks make up for it.
Thanks, sister. Um, so whenever we were on break with each other, I was actually gonna ask you, wait, is your daughter anywhere near?
No.
Okay. Are you gonna do Elf this year? Or have you already started it? Because
Oh,
now we're already in December.
oh, like the little Christmas.
Elf on the Shelf.
No, me and Luke talked about it. I think we're gonna start it when she's like 4. Um, but I
Kudos.
actually
Yeah.
that's crazy because actually I was gonna ask you today. I saw a mom's post about Elf on the Shelf, and there was like people in the comments saying that they did like Mary on the Mantle instead.
I have been seeing, there's been a lot of cute ones. I've also seen like a one with Jesus, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Like Jesus
so
is walking.
I love that. I love that that made you think of me because if your listener, our listeners don't know, I am Catholic. Um, and but kudos to the parents that are doing the Elf on the Shelf because I've been like that's all my feed is on Facebook right now, and I personally won't do that, and it's nothing against it. It's just me and my husband were so forgetful that we would ruin everything, and I would just be like so sad if I ruined it all. And I just know I'm too ADHD, so is my husband. Like it would not go over well. I could just already see it now that my kid would be like, why didn't he move? And I'd be like, oh gosh. And then I don't know. I just feel like I don't have the patience for that, and I'm not creative enough to even be a part of that.
Well, and
So
I there was an elf actually at her daycare today. Like they have their own elf, and I was pointing it out to her, and I was like, "Oh, look at the elf," and she was like, okay." So
I
like
don't know if you've seen
she
the
doesn't get.
video. There's a video going around, and I didn't know this until I did this actually before I saw this video. So I used to be a waitress, obviously, and I was at work. We had an Elf on the Shelf that we would do it with like each other in the um like just for funsies, like between the host and the to-go specialists and the servers. And we would hide this elf from each other and figure out if we could see it before the end of the night, for the workday. And I found him like one, and I guess somehow it wasn't even Christmas time. Like it was a little before, maybe a little after. I don't remember. But all I know is I was cleaning out the drawers from the top, like um, the front wherever you first walk in with like the host stand and stuff, and it was a big thing. Anyways, it needed to be clean, and we had downtime, so I was like, I'm gonna clean out all these drawers. And I was up there cleaning it, and I found the Elf on the Shelf. And a kid walked in, and I had it in my hand, and the kid freaked out. It was like, "Mom, she's killing them!" And I had no idea that that you couldn't touch them.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, so the parents have a special dust and they can, or some, I don't know, some weird
Well,
thing, but the kids can.
a lot of it's really just however like you make up the reason that you can do things.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes so much sense because this kid was horrified that I did that. And you could tell the mom looked at me like she was pissed. And I was like, oh, because I had no idea.
Yeah.
Anyways, fast forward. I don't know if you ever seen the video, but there's actually a video that's really popular. And you just hear a bunch of kids screaming and crying. And the dad's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? He's like going through all these kids. And at the very bottom, it's just the youngest one holding the elf by the neck. The other kids are like, she killed him. He's dead.
Yeah, actually I think that one's a few years old. I have seen that one. That one is pretty good.
That one was pretty funny, but yeah, yeah. Okay, but anyways, that's all I had to share because I was thinking about all that today and I was like, damn, I ruined some kid's childhood.
People, you should actually use this time to email us at deathordialogue@yahoo.com on what your special rules about the elf are, because I think that would be really cool to see.
Yes, and if we just also ruin your kid, if you're listening to this in the car and your kid happens to be in the back seat and we just ruined it for them, sorry.
That's on you. This is a murder podcast. Speaking
That's
of
true.
murder, we are on 50. Um, so not gonna lie to you, 50th one was a pretty crazy. So he was first off, his name is Robert Black Jr.
What the?
and he was born 1947. He was a former Marine who fought in Vietnam. He flew more than 200 combat hours as a radio intercept operator in an F-4 fighter plane. He was unemployed after he got back from Vietnam. Like there was a few things that said that he had like unstable work, like he would work a little bit, then quit, and then work somewhere else. And then some of it just said he was unemployed the whole time and relied solely on his wife to support him. He was also involved in the Boy Scouts with his son and was a scout master for his son's troop. So now, getting into it. Robert Black Jr. was talking to a man named Mark Huber about killing his wife for him in around 1982 or 1983, roughly. Black offered Mark $5,000 to kill Sandra, who's his wife, and actually paid him $500 as a down payment. Black discussed how he wanted Sandra killed and suggested either shooting her or running her over with a truck.
Oh my gosh.
Mark never intended to participate in the murder, and 2 weeks later, Black took back his offer. If you're saying, "Oh my gosh," already, you better buckle in.
And
So,
for $1,200?
no, 5,000.
Dude, what am I hearing?
I don't
Okay,
know.
I'm sorry. That's such a weird number because I was like, dang, that's not even 5,000 isn't even. What the hell is that gonna do? Especially in today. What the hell? Okay. And what year are we in again?
So it started in 1982. That's when he first asked
Yes.
Huber to do it. So,
Okay.
um, so that was 1982, 1983-ish. Then in 1984, the fall of 1984, um, Black asked David Huber, which was Mark's brother, to kill his wife so that he could be with his girlfriend, Teresa Hetherington, who was also Black's first cousin. Black said that Huber could get Sandra in a chokehold to knock her out, pin her underneath her motorcycle in the shed, and then set the shed on fire while Black and his son jumped on the trampoline. Black talked at least twice about burning his wife to death, according to Huber. Black also said, just an alternative, that Huber could steal a truck and run over Sandra while she was out riding her motorcycle. Or or he could hit Sandra in the head with a baseball bat and dump her body and motorbike over a bridge. Or he could fake a robbery and the rape of Sandra and shoot her with one of Robert's Black's guns. For some reason, Huber did not believe that Black was serious. about killing his wife, and he thought that these were just fantasies. Because normal people fantasize about multiple ways of killing their wives.
Yeah, red flag. Oh my
Like,
gosh.
you're not just having an argument and being like, you know what? Sandra made me real mad today. I could just kill her. You're,
Well, I just sort of think about the guys we work with at work because we obviously, just in case people don't know, we're salespeople. So we work with a lot more males than females. And I just couldn't imagine them being like, man, I just think it'd be a good idea to burn her alive until she was like, just like very
it's like,
descriptive ways of killing them.
and he like just kept going. He was like, okay, burning her's too much. That's fine. I get it. We can just hit her with a truck.
Yeah.
It
Or
like,
shoot her. And like if
it's just insane how he was going about talking about this. So Huber was like, well, it's just fantasies. Black also talked about killing Teresa's husband. Teresa actually also had a husband and said that they could kill him by dumping him in an abandoned well and covering it with cement. Black then offered Huber money for it. And that's when Huber was like, okay, buddy, like that's a little crazy. And their friendship, quote, cooled down in late December of 1984.
I love that you said that it quote cooled down.
But like, I if you didn't report it to anyone, that's not a red flag. Of like, that's not in any way a red flag. Like, I know in the 80s, like we didn't care as much if we beat our wives, but hopefully you cared if they continuously talked about murdering them, you know? So,
That's crazy.
so David Huber was like, no, like let's not be friends anymore. In late December of 1984. So, in the fall of 1984, when he was telling David Huber all this stuff, Gordon Matheson worked with Robert Black, and he said that Black hated his wife with a passion and was obsessed with his girlfriend, and often discussed his personal problems with him. So this is just Gordon is a coworker. Black asked Gordon to assist him in killing Sandra by driving a car which Black could jump into after crashing Sandra's van with her in it. If Sandra did not die in the crash, Black told Matheson that he would beat her in the head with a club. Black offered Gordon Matheson $50,000 of the life insurance policy he had on Sandra. So this is now the third person that he has asked to kill his wife. And this person was like, they weren't even friends, they were just coworkers. So, wild thing. So, I'm assuming Matheson said no because it didn't work out. Black then contacted John Wayne Hearn, who was also a former Marine, in October of 1984 when Black responded to an ad that Hearn had placed in the Soldier of Fortune magazine. He put an ad in asking like for people that had military background, like veterans of different wars, to contact him for special high risk missions. Hearn had an operation known as the World Security Group. So, Black and Hearn had multiple phone conversations before meeting on January 9th of 1985 in Brazos County. Hearn was wanting to buy Black's gun collection because his security group was going to send them to the Contras in Nicaragua. During this meeting, Black told Hearn that he said, I would have so much money if I didn't have a wife, and me and one of my friends are planning on killing my wife. He said that to like a random person. And then Black eventually refused to sell his collection for the agreed price and later sent Hearn a cashier's check for $1,000 for his expenses for coming up to even look at the collection. I'm pretty sure Hearn lived in Florida at the time. So, the next thing Black did was he went to Don Ballard and got a $1,000 life insurance policy on his wife in late January of 1985. Sandra paid for the new policy, and Black's prior coverage on his wife had only been $50K, so he doubled it. 3 weeks later, Black called Hearn and explained his friend backed out of killing his wife with him. I don't even know which friend he's talking about. I don't know if he's talking about Gordon or if he's talking about David. Not sure. Because neither of them said that they ever agreed to do it in the first place. But Black seems a little delusional. So,
He's obviously new to killing too. You're not supposed to tell that many people.
like, it's an insane amount, right? Like,
He's literally told and why is no one telling this woman? It's been like 7 or 8 people by this point.
yeah, we're on the fourth person that knows over like 3 years, and no one has like raised any red flags to anyone.
It's 4 people.
Yeah, we're on the fourth. Yeah.
I don't know why. It just feels like more. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's way more than
I
you
just,
should tell.
yeah, it
And
was
he
the
killed his
random
black
guy, the
husband.
coworker, the one original friend, and a cousin.
It was the
Yes.
two brothers, the coworker, and then the random guy.
Okay.
So we're on the random guy. So
Oh,
so Black called Hearn saying that his friend backed out of killing his wife. The policy went into effect on February 13th of 1985. Black asked Hearn if he would drive the second vehicle for him in his murder plan. Hearn agreed to help and returned to Bryan, Texas on February 20th, 1985. Black agreed to pay Hearn $10,000 for his part in the murder and $1,000 for expenses to like get there in the rental car and everything. So on February 21st, 1985, Hearn met Black in a Safeway parking lot in Bryan. Hearn left his rental car in the lot and went with Black to his house. Neither Sandra, who was 36 at the time, or their only child, Gary, who was 15, were home. Black gave Hearn pieces of Sandra's jewelry as collateral for the 10K and gave him Sandra's pistol. Black and Hearn then ransacked the house to give the illusion of a burglary, and Black left in his El Camino to run errands with his son to give him an alibi. Hearn waited in the dining room for Sandra to get home. Sandra was bringing in groceries between the dining room and the kitchen when Hearn shot her 2 times in the head, killing her with her own pistol. He then drove away from the house using Sandra's van, went back to the Safeway where he left the van, got in his rental car, drove back to Houston where he caught the next plane back home. Sandra's body was found by her son Gary. During the funeral, Black asked Ballard, who was the life insurance agent, if the insurance would pay off, which I thought would also be a red flag, as if you're supposed to be mourning your wife and you're asking about your insurance. But Ballard said it wasn't totally unusual for someone to be concerned about insurance at that time. So that's the crime. So, what do you think?
that is first off insane, and he's an actual moron. I feel like it's going to be a pretty easy catching him scenario. Um, and how old is their baby at this point? Well,
15.
man, he lets his 15-year-old son walk in on his dead mother.
Yeah.
That just, I mean, obviously you can already tell he has like some mental problems and
Well, and it's
obviously a very hateful man, but to let your kid, no matter how old they are, like to let them be the one to find them. Like, could you imagine being 15 years old, walking in the living room or bed, wherever she was at, I forgot. Um, just walking in and finding your parent shot. Because whenever you get shot, it's
not,
graphic.
yeah, it's not clean.
Yeah, I mean, there's usually blood everywhere, blood's poured out. I mean, there's probably, depending on how long it took, there could be a smell. Like, it's just like a horrific, your eyes could be open, your mouth could be like, not to be like dramatic, but that's like
It's
a
not
horrific thing
it's
to
not
walk
how
into.
you want to remember your mom.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's not peaceful like in their sleep or anything. I mean, she's
Well, and like
probably scattered everywhere.
like him asking so many people, it's like, okay, it's clear about what you wanted. Like you wanted your wife dead.
Just divorce her. Oh my gosh. At
Well,
that point, like what was she doing to make this man like what did it say anything about like what he would say to people? Like was like did she just breathe wrong? Did she
no,
nag?
he just
Because that's
loved
a
his
typical
cousin.
wife.
He just loved his cousin Teresa, and he wanted.
What a freaking What a freaking psycho.
So do you
Just
understand
because you want to
how,
be with your
like,
cousin?
why I was at work and I was like gasping while I was like researching this?
Well, only a person that loves their cousin could act this way because that's freaking weird.
It's insane. Like when I
Yeah.
read that he had a girlfriend, I was like, oh, he has a girlfriend. Like classic. Like I was typing in and it was like who was also his first cousin, and I was like, what the beep? What do you mean?
I those stories like this, or like anytime I hear it, first off of like any murder, I'm like, what the hell? But like, I feel like I've heard that a few times through like crime in general, not our podcast specifically, but just they'll be like, and it was their first, like they were dating their first cousin, or like their parents were their first cousins, and I'm like, what effing weirdos? Like, what weirdos?
Well, and it's like you've
If
been
you're listening to this and you have a crush on your first cousin, go to therapy. That's weird. That's not normal.
talk it out with someone, not us.
Yeah, definitely.
Someone
Yeah,
else. But like,
yeah.
and it's just you can't, like you were saying that there's obviously something wrong with him, but like, which is like there obviously is because a normal person doesn't do this, but you cannot plead insanity or that you didn't know what you were doing or you didn't know the results of your actions because you've told multiple people multiple different ways that you can get away with killing her,
Yeah.
you know? And like you just like kept going. Like you could
And
not
did
let.
the first cousin even like him back? I'm sorry, I'm still on the first cousin. Did she
Yeah,
even
they
want
they
him?
were they were dating.
Okay.
Yeah, they were each other's mistress. I don't know what you call a man
They're
that's
just having an affair
yeah.
with each other.
Because
Ew.
remember he mentioned killing her husband too.
Oh, yeah.
So when Black went to trial, Hearn was already in prison in Florida for serving a life sentence for killing his girlfriend's husband in the days leading up to Sandra's murder. So Hearn had a girlfriend who had a husband. He killed the girlfriend's husband in Florida and then flew to Texas to kill Black's wife. So he was already in prison serving a life sentence for killing his girlfriend's husband.
Okay.
So, Sandra's mother testified that 10 years before this, Black had pushed Sandra through a screen door. So there was like already a pattern of abuse that Sandra's mom had witnessed before. Black tried to use the defense of PTSD during the trial from
Get out of
Vietnam.
my face.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry. Maybe you could use that as a defense if it was a crime of passion.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like
Like,
she did something and it triggered you right then and there and you killed her. But
like
no, this was definitely planned
maybe,
out.
but not when you've been telling your friends and coworkers for 2, 3 years that you want your wife dead. Like, that's not PTSD. So, um, a county jail employee stated he found a map of the jail and some wire in Black's cell indicating that he was planning to escape. So, he's just crazy.
This guy is a freaking character. What a hoot.
Like,
Uh,
so Sandra's parents filed a $107.5 million lawsuit against the Soldier of Fortune magazine for running the ad that Hearn placed, saying, and their attorney said that it was a thinly disguised advertisement for hired guns. So, like, basically saying that the advertisement was clearly looking for hitmen or saying that he was a hitman for hire. And so Sandra's parents were suing the magazine. Gary, their son, testified that he was so scared that if Black would hire someone to kill his mom, what was stopping him from using the magazine to hire someone to kill him too? Um, Hearn received a life sentence for his testimony against Black, which I'm sorry, you already had a life sentence for killing someone else. I don't think you should just be getting another life sentence for killing a different person. Like that's not how that should work. Like yeah, you got
absolutely not.
but like you were already serving a life sentence. You had nothing to give up.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Black's last words were him attempting to say the poem High Flight while he was being executed. So he got through some of the poem and then died during it. I have the poem at the end of the episode that I can read to you. And then so he was executed on May 22nd, 1992. He was
Okay.
65 years old and pronounced dead at 12:20. Gary told a newspaper that Sandra always looked after his every need and she was just the worst person to lose. Sorry if you can hear my dog. She's getting mad at my dryer. Yeah,
That's okay.
so that's what Gary told the newspaper about his mom. He was very obviously very distraught about losing his mom. So, Ava, sorry. I don't know why she's freaking out.
Okay. I can't hear you. You're good.
Oh, okay. Um, so the High Flight poem was this is what he was trying to read when he was executed. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter's silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence, hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace where never lark or even eagle flew. And while the silent lifting mine, I've trod the high untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God. This was by John Gillespie Magee Jr., RCAF, who was killed in World War II, who wrote this poem. So that is inmate number 50, Robert Black Jr.
Okay. I'll remember him as the cousin lover.
Number 50, yeah, the cousin lover that uh told 4 people he wanted to kill his wife.
That is insane to me. What a goon. What a goon.
Well, and like I just really don't understand how you can try to say it's PTSD. Like, and that's just almost like that's just I'm not saying he didn't have PTSD because he probably did from being in Vietnam, but those actions are not from PTSD and it's almost like a slap in the face for people
Yeah.
like for other people that have serious issues with PTSD.
Uh-huh.
It's like there's tons of people that have PTSD that don't plot to kill their wife for 2 years.
I actually have I guess he's my second cousin. And
Don't tell me
he,
you love him.
oh my gosh,
Just kidding.
definitely not. But I will say he actually has a form of like has seen combat and actually has PTSD, and he's never killed anybody. Not saying that it doesn't get rough out in the streets, but yeah,
And that's the thing is like I'm not saying that PTSD doesn't ever cause anyone to be violent or kill anyone,
yeah.
but I'm saying that it doesn't cause everyone to do that in the manner of which you had your wife killed is not a direct cause.
Well, PTSD that can also be from forms of abuse and stuff like that. And if anyone listened to the last episode, we also talked about like it's not fair. You don't just because something bad happened to you or you are part of something bad doesn't mean you get the excuse of, oh, I'm crazy or I have PTSD or this was done to me, so it's okay if I hurt someone
Well, it's
else.
like honestly, like sometimes even when like these horrible things are done and they have like a legitimate, I don't want to say reason, but like a legitimate mental issue that did influence them to make bad decisions, you still took a person's life. And
Yeah.
that person is still gone and they're never coming back. So,
I do think, depending on your mental capability, like I'm not going to lie to you, I'm definitely as a crime junkie, I feel like there has been stories that I've heard where someone was like actually freaking insane and they weren't getting the proper help that they were getting on. And so, like, whenever they pled like guilty by reasons of insanity, I was like, okay, yeah, probably. Like, they were really
well, and like
not
it's
all
just
there,
it's
but they should still have to go somewhere. You
well,
can't just be
it's
with us anymore.
really like hard for me because on one side, I'm like, I feel really bad for the people that are not getting the help that they need mentally. Like, that makes me feel really sad for them because I know that they're hurting and I know that they need help. But also, I also don't care. Like, on the other hand, I'm like, you still did something terrible. You still took away someone's mother, father, son, daughter, like, and that's something that's an action you can't take away. And
Hmm.
sorry, but a lot of the times there are like you can get help for free. Like if you want
Yeah.
bad enough, like you can find a way to get help. And so it's like I do have an inner struggle. Like on one hand, I feel really bad for them, but on the other hand, me feeling bad for you doesn't take away how bad I feel for that family that's losing somebody because you didn't get the help that you needed, you know?
Yeah. No, 110. I feel what you're putting down. There's only been a few cases that I've ever felt that way. Because I just think too, I mean, to be honest, I just feel like if you've killed somebody, like you're not all there to begin with. Does that make sense? Like something deeper was going on because that's just not a normal reaction whenever you get
Like
mad
like you
or
purposefully ending someone's life is not a normal reaction to anything.
yes. Yes. Even like crime of passion, some of them I've heard about and I'm like, oh yeah, I agree. But then, there's some times where I hear like realistically, if you walk in on your spouse cheating, and then they kill them, it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, but
That's just
damn, that's
that's like
extreme.
well, and that's the thing is like that's the first thing you think of when you think of crime of passion is like walking in on your spouse and they're cheating on you, and your first instinct is to shoot them. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's just it's still insane to me. Like I've never had that happen to me. So I guess I can't say how I would react in the situation. But I'm pretty sure I would just cry and leave.
I don't think I'd cry. I think I'd hit them. I don't know about killing them, but I'd definitely slap them
I don't
a
know.
little bit.
I mean, I would be mad, but like I don't know. I guess I can't imagine myself ever like
Yeah, I guess I can't really answer because I've never had to and like a spouse like I'm married to and, having his baby and stuff like that. I feel like that's a whole different ball game versus like you're taught like a boyfriend, like and girlfriend from like high school,
well, and
you
that's the
know?
thing. It's like with Sandra and Robert Black, like did they have some love still? Like they had been together for a long time, at least 15 years. Like
Mm,
was this something that she never expected from him? I mean, like yeah, like from what we can tell, like he did abuse her a little bit, but a lot of the times, like when people are abused, they still get those pockets of affection that they cling on to.
yes.
Like, were they just completely hating each other and just living in the same house for the sake of their kid? Or like, was this just something like she thought he was her best friend still?
Man, that would be so sad. You know how sad I'd be to find out like my husband's plotting to kill me?
Yeah, that's
You know what I'm saying? Like, and you really don't think about it. Like, I watched it was a few years back. It's definitely kind of old, but it was like some guy, they had like a cameras in their house, right? This woman was putting poison or bleach or something weird in his coffee every morning to slowly kill him. But thank goodness the first day, I guess he automatically knew something was weird with it because it had a weird smell. So he didn't drink it,
and that's like
obviously. And then he went back to look at the camera and she was trying to poison him every day. And thank goodness she didn't get the chance to kill him. But like he was even so shocked by it. He was like, "What?" Like, could you
and
imagine just
that's the thing is
finding out?
like you were saying, like why not just leave? And like he did have his other motive of wanting the insurance money. But if
Mm,
your main reason is that you want to be with someone else, just leave. Like,
yeah.
like I don't get it. I don't get it. And that means that I'm a normal person.
Yeah. That is a good way to look at it. Just If it literally gets to a point where you want to kill someone, just FYI for anyone out there, if you're thinking about killing your spouse, leave them. Just leave them. It's
Really
that
simple.
simple.
You pack a suitcase and you get in your car. And if you don't
Literally,
have a car, you just walk.
yeah, anyway. Go stay with your cousin lover.
So, all right,
Wait,
we'll be back next episode. Now that we hit episode 50 or inmate 50, I'll probably do a different episode next time. Whether it's a people that got off or maybe I'll do like a recent one, like somebody that's on death row currently that hasn't been
mm,
executed. That way we can be like, hey, do we think they're gonna get off? Um,
that's fun. Okay. If just do one where we can find out pretty closely, you
okay.
know.
Like they're
Does
like,
that make sense? Like within
yeah,
a
yeah.
few months or so. Before we get off though, I do got some facts for everybody.
Okay.
I thought were interesting. This is more related to just death row inmates in general. So in Texas, they have executed brothers on 6 different occasions.
Oh wow.
So I'm assuming these first ones, they, I'm assuming all of them, they probably committed the same crime together from what I would assume. It doesn't say their crime, and I didn't want to say their crime in case we go over it. But some of these are kind of old, so if we haven't gone over it now, actually we wouldn't even be able to because they're really old.
Okay.
Only
Yeah.
the last two. But there's Frank and Lorenzo Noel, executed July 3rd, 1925. Maybe these ones are ones you could use also for next week because we won't be able to go over them anyways. Um, S.A. and Forrest Robbins, executed April 6th of 1926. Two other brothers were also executed July 1st, 1936. These three were all done by electrocution, by the way. And then Herm Roscoe and Hernandez Henderson Brown, they were also electrocuted May 6th, 1938. And then these ones get a little trickier. So this guy's name is Kristen and Danny Harris. They were both killed by lethal injection, but one was executed on July 1st, the other July 30th. And then there was the last set of brothers were September 16th, 1994. And the other one, Jose, was executed November 18th of 1999, both
We'll
by
go
lethal injection. Huh?
we'll go over those too.
We're gonna go over these ones. I
Like
already
when we
figured
get
they
there.
were the 1999. Yeah. So I'm not. Yeah, that one would be fun. Okay, means of execution. So hanging was basically used from 1819, which probably longer than that. Let's be real. That's just what's on Texas. This is from like the actual Texas execution site. But hangings was predominant in 1819 to 1923. Then the electric chair was introduced in 1923. The first electric chair um, execution was actually done pretty early on in 1923. It was in February, and it was around until about 1964.
Oh wow.
And now, currently, Texas exclusively uses lethal injection. So I'm sure there used to be more options. It doesn't really say that on the side. It just kind of tells you like hanging electric chair, like when they were brought in. So I'm not sure if the electric chair and hanging at one point were like correlated, like it was like a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know for a while there was like the option of the electric chair and lethal injection, but now Texas strictly only does lethal injection. Um, there was a total of 361 inmates that were electrocuted in the state of Texas. So that doesn't sound like a lot, but only from 1923 to 1964, that's a lot.
Yeah, I honestly would think it would be more though, because that's like over the span of 40 years.
Well, 361, that's a lot of people to kill. And you have to
That's
think,
that's almost 10 a year.
that's kind of a lot. I think you're like these are humans. That's kind of a lot. It's
I
not
guess
cattle.
no, I guess like if I guess it's hard to like put in perspective because we're doing the like what we're going through right now with lethal injection is the execution started in like 1976 and we're up to
Hmm.
2024 now, which is, roughly 50 years and we've done over almost 600.
Well, you also have to think though, just because those were that many people that were electrocuted, you don't know, like they definitely were probably still doing hangings during a fraction of that because it was so new. I'm sure there was still hangings, and I'm sure towards the end of it, they already had the lethal injection. So you have to think that's just execution or if I cannot talk, I'm sorry. Electrocution.
Yeah.
That is insane if you really think about it that way, because I'm sure there was other means. And then effective January 12th, 1996, close relatives and friends of the deceased victims were allowed to witness executions. I read that and I tried to find more information on that because I was kind of like, so were they not allowed originally, but maybe not in certain cases? Um, I got pretty vague answers back from it. But yes, in 1996, that's whenever, from what I'm understanding, I guess all of them have the option now, if you are on death row, that your close relative and friends can basically watch you die.
I don't
I don't
know.
know why you would want to do that. Maybe closure for yourself. Um, because I get it. Like, I'm going to be a mom. I pray and hope that I don't raise a killer or someone that does something crazy, but that I guess it makes sense to, want to have your mom or someone there.
Well, whenever me
Um,
and Luke were doing an episode, we were talking about
mhm.
the electric chair once, and I read something that said whenever that you had an execution by electric chair, there were three different people that were the executioners, and they each had a button, and no one knew which one was the one that actually like started the electrocution, so that nobody had that like guilt of killing someone.
That is very interesting. I I don't like that, but I like that fact. And that would make you sleep better at night because you're like, did I? Did I not? Um, okay, another good one I found. This one I got a lot of little facts. The shortest, and this is you have to remember this is also starting from the 1970s.
Hmm.
Um, the shortest person that's been on death row since the 1970s was his name was Joe Gonzalez, and he only was on death row for 252 days. So not even a full year.
Whenever you said shortest, I thought you meant like in stature. Like they were only 4 foot
Oh
tall
my
or
gosh.
something.
Well, and first off, shortest isn't even a word, is it? Yeah, it is. It just sounds dumb.
That was so
Okay.
funny. I was like, oh, like how tall was he? And then you're like he was on death row for this long. I was like, oh, that's what you meant, the least amount of time.
Oh my goodness. Short men are pretty cranky usually, though. Um, no disrespect to the short kings. Anyways, in the longest so far that someone's been on death row, um, obviously without dying from like suicide or like illness. This guy was on death row for 11,575 days. So that's 31 years.
Oh my gosh.
David Lee Powell. He was on death row for 31 years before his execution. The average age of executed inmates is 39. The youngest person at time of execution, there were three of them actually throughout the years. One in 1986, one in 1985, and one in 2002, and they were all 24.
We've gone over some of those, the earlier
Mm-hmm.
ones. We haven't gone over the 2004 one yet.
2002, excuse
Yeah.
you.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. See, it's hard to repeat stuff whenever you're the listener. Now you have to feel bad for me. You want to know, this one shocked me just because I'm like, he was so old. It says the oldest at the time of execution is 78, and it was in 2022.
Oh,
So
wow.
pretty recently, he was 78 years old.
And that's crazy because he wasn't even the longest person on death row.
No,
So it's like, when did he do his crime?
yeah, literally. I know I wanted to dig into it, but then I thought you'd be mad at me. And sometimes I have like you over my shoulder, especially at work whenever we're doing stuff. And then I was like, ugh.
Well, and let's be real. When we get to that case in 20, we're in 1992 right now. We have 20 years of executions before we get to that guy.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I did want to go over because I feel like at least for myself, you and Luke may have talked about this before, but just for like new listeners and everything like that. I wanted to list off the things that can actually, like the Texas capital offenses. So basically, things that get you on death row for capital murder. Um, Murder of a peace officer or fireman who's acting in the law in the lawful discharge of an official duty and who the person knows is a peace officer or fireman. That was kind of confusing. They kind of kept repeating themselves a lot.
So it's
But
basically
basically,
saying like if it's a police officer that's on duty doing the like being dispatched to a call or like being a
exactly.
civil servant and you know that they're a police officer or because firefighters it's kind of hard because like you don't always know it's a firefighter. But if it's a firefighter doing their active duty like on a call, saving someone, helping people, it's kind of interesting that like EMS personnel is not included in there.
Well, I'm sure. Well, to be honest, it doesn't say police. It says peace officer.
Well, yeah, but
Well, I guess, but EMS is kind of its own. That is an interesting one. Well, let me read off the other ones. Maybe there's something about them. If not, then sorry, EMS workers. I don't. That's kind of messed up. I'm sure they go underneath it somehow. Um, Murder during the commission or attempted commission of kidnapping, burglary, and robbery, which we see that a lot. Aggravated sexual assault, arson, obstruction, or retaliation or terroristic threat.
hmm.
So those are pretty, I feel like, common. Uh, Murder for remuneration. I don't know how to talk.
I think that I'm assuming what that is saying is like the one that we did today about like murder for hire, like doing it for pay.
Okay, okay, or promise of remuneration. Yeah, if I would have kept reading it, kind of would have made sense. So basically, you're getting something in return for it, or employing another to commit murder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah. If I would have just kept reading, sorry guys, wasn't my best subject. Let me see here. Murder during escape or attempted escape from a penal institution, which is pretty interesting. I mean, obviously it makes sense. We've
So
done
like
that prison riot one.
yeah, so like
Um,
being a like an officer or like civilian while you're escaping jail.
yes. Murder while incarcerated.
Mhm.
So again, same with that thing with the library.
That
Guys,
one
my tongue is swollen. I had an allergic reaction and I can feel my tongue tingling as I'm talking.
That one's interesting though because like I feel like maybe it doesn't actually happen in real life a lot, but I feel like in TVs and shows and stuff you see where like inmates are killing each other. Like for, whatever it is if there's like issues in jail that they're killing each other over or like I feel like they're always having like shanks and stuff. So I wonder how often inmates actually get put on death row for murdering another inmate, not like a corrections officer.
Yeah. What I'm thinking though is in prison, I do feel like you just don't talk. Like let's say if you've seen another guy shank another guy, you're already in prison. I probably wouldn't say anything because then you're known as a snitch in prison.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe that does happen more often than we think. But the thing is, who's going to tell that it was that person?
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to be real with you. If I ever go to prison for any reason, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to keep to myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to be hanging out in the library or doing something that does not interact with anyone
Hmm.
because prison is just probably not the place to be well known at. Um, there was murder of more than one person during the same criminal transaction or during different criminal transactions, but the murders are committed persistent to the same scheme or course of conduct, sorry. So basically, I'm assuming that also means like obviously the people that go on random killing sprees or like a serial killer. Like if
Yeah.
you're killing multiple people, you kind of get put in a whole different thing. Makes sense. Murder of an individual under 10 years of age or older than 10 years of age, but younger than 15 years of age. Okay, why did they not just say 15
Yeah,
years
why did they
younger?
not just say 15 or
Yeah, I
under?
was about to say, I was reading that and I was like, okay, am I dumb? Because that just
Did it
means
say
anyone
under
under 50.
10 or over 10? So 10 doesn't matter.
Oh, okay, wait. Murder of an individual under 10 years of age or older than 10 years of age, but younger than 15. Yeah, so still 15 or under.
That's weird.
Okay, that was like
Way
the
to say that.
dumbest thing I've ever read. I thought I was dumb and like reread it, and then I was like, oh, maybe I read it wrong. No, okay, guys. Murder in retaliation for or on account of service or status of the other person as a judge or justice or Supreme Court. So yeah, if you kill someone for locking you up, or
Yeah.
like if someone locked up your husband, I'm assuming like, and you go out and you kill that person, anyone, and it's like longer than that. This one's kind of like a paragraph, but it's basically just saying like Court of
Anyone in
Appeals, District Court, Criminal District Court. Yeah, everyone that's working in the court. Those are all of them for now.
It's interesting that there wasn't anything about elderly people on that list.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. That was all the ones I found.
Or
I'm
like,
sure there's something in place for some, because I mean, like, you're a POS if you kill, like, to me, like, a senior citizen is like 60. Because I always think of like IHOP, don't they do like a 55 and up? So,
uh,
like, 60 to me, I'm like, you're a senior citizen.
I thought that most senior discounts, I think the senior discounts do range from 55 to 65, but I don't really think of anyone as like elderly to like 70s.
No, like, whenever I hear someone 60, I imagine they have a walker.
That's
Like, there's
not
people we
very
work with
funny.
that get around, and I'm like, dude, how are they doing? I don't know. Because, like, dude, my grandma, she's 67. And I mean, I'm going to be real. I think she kind of needs a walker. She has a little gimp to her. Don't tell her I said that. She'll never listen to this. She hates true crime. She's scared. But she has a little gimp to her.
So like I think that some elderly people or like when you get up there in age, like when you're, 90, you can't defend yourself.
Oh,
Like
absolutely not.
you're
I mean,
just
let's be
as
real. Okay, you're pushing it to 90, like 70. Are you, or six, even 60? Let's be real, Kaylin.
okay.
If
And to
anyone
some people
goes after my Nana, I can promise you, I just said she gimp.
some
She didn't get
people
very
are
far.
in like some people are in like very like in good shape and being 60. Like I feel like I've seen 6-year-olds and they're like, I'm 60 and I'm like, what? So
Yeah, but
like
let's be real. We live in like Texas, and like once that we hit a certain age, we're kind of like, oh, okay,
well like my point is
okay.
that after a certain age, and that age I guess varies person to person. You're
Mhm.
just as helpless as children.
That's why I was about to say, I was trying to remember that Nun episode, which still that one haunts me. That breaks my heart. I was trying to remember what got him on death row because I knew he killed like an older lady, but I remembered it's because he was breaking and entering. So that
And
was burglary
it's her.
committed with murder. So that's what got him under death row.
Didn't he rape her too?
Huh?
Didn't he rape her too?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you had to bring it up.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just burglary. Like
Horrible.
it was that too, but I'm also surprised that there's nothing on that list about like mentally handicapped people. Like
Girl, again, I'm telling you, there's probably more. This is just what the site gave me.
well, that's where you think the extended list would be is on the actual like Texas Department of Criminal Justice site.
Yeah, I'll go back and triple look, and then next episode, guys, I'm gonna dig deeper into it and see if there's any type of, um, if I can speak, any type of injustice whenever it comes to, yeah, because if you, especially if you kill like, mm, yeah, I'm looking at this and because I don't see anything about that on there. I kept me a little notepad. But I'll definitely look into it more and then see if there's anything. And you said for mentally handicapped people and old people.
Yeah.
Oh, senior citizens. I feel like it's rude to call them old,
It-
kind of.
yeah.
But like honestly, at this point in life, like if you're like 65 and you get offended with that, that's kind of ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure I worked with somebody that was, I think she was early 60s. And I remember it was when I was dispatching and I was trying to get a description of somebody. And whenever I would ask people descriptions, I would be like, how old are they? And they'd be like, oh, I don't know. I don't know ages. Like, I don't know how old they are. And I'm like, okay, well, like, are they old? Like 50? And I remember I said that once and she was like, "Ah, you think 50 is old?" I was like, well, when I'm
Like,
19.
well, it's not young. I don't get it's always, you know what makes me uncomfortable is like whenever I say, which I guess back in the day, I guess if your parents were alive, you didn't call them sir or ma'am. But whenever I call, like, they'll be obviously an old person. Well, not old, not old, but older. Like, they'll be in their 50s or 60s. And my parents, like, beat my butt. So we say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. And I remember I kept accidentally saying sir out of habit. And he was like, that's my dad. And this guy was like 55, dude. Like, no hair, white beard. And I'm like, okay, bro, like, I don't know who needs to tell you this, but you're a sir. Get it together.
Yeah, people are odd about it sometimes, but I'm excited to hear. I really like the addition of the facts, so um, I think it really opens up the floor more to talk.
Hmm.
But we'll go ahead and sign off now. Make sure you go look at our YouTube, our Facebook. Um, yeah, that's it. I'll link them in the show notes. That way you can go check them out and join the Facebook group.
Bye.
Bye, guys.